Sistrunk O's versus Preston. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
You own rental property?
Yes.
And you rented at some point to the defendants?
Yes, we did.
They have how many children?
4.
These 2 of them?
Yes.
At some point, they vacated the property. Did you evict them or did they move
Yes.
voluntarily?
Yeah, we had to evict them.
For?
Non-payment of rent.
Well, that's enough of a reason. And it is your claim that sometime after they were evicted, one of their boys came back and vandalized the property.
Right.
Correct.
Which boy came back and vandalized the property?
Young man standing here at the podium.
One with his hands in his pockets so he can't raise his hand. What's your name?
Ozzy?
Ozzy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Who saw them vandalize your property?
My maintenance guy came to work the next day and noticed that the first vandalism had occurred.
Don't talk for him. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
My name is Charles. Charles Lilly.
Mr. Lilly, how long have you worked for the O's?
4 or 5 years.
How long had the Prestons lived in the house before they were evicted?
4 months. It's kind of, could I elaborate on that? We purchased the house in December. They answered the ad in January. They told us they would not like to move in until March. We had all of February to fix the place up.
Did they give you a security deposit?
Yes.
How much?
$700.
And what was the rent?
$750.
Did they pay March's rent?
Yes.
April.
April they paid $475 in check, $275 in cash. The $475 check bounced. I have a copy of that.
Did they ever make good on that check?
Yes, she did.
What about May?
May was paid.
June?
June was paid. I'm sorry. June was not paid. That's when we filed the eviction. I'm sorry.
Why hadn't you paid June's rent?
What had happened, I had gave the money to my husband. He was supposed to meet up with them to pay them.
Why didn't you pay June's rent?
Because I didn't have it all. At that time, we were starting to have financial difficulties, and I was trying to get the rest of it together.
Were you working?
No, I'm on disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
Hip replacement.
When did you have a hip replacement?
About 7 years ago.
And you've been disabled because of a hip replacement?
Yes.
Must have had a very bad doctor.
No, actually, they said he was one of the best.
I know tons of people who've had hip replacements. They work.
I haven't worked in 7 years.
How old are you?
39.
So what do you do all day?
When she's at work, I'm at home getting the kids off.
When did you sign on for this, Miss Preston?
7, 8 years ago.
How old is your youngest child?
Michael is 10.
You drive a car?
No, she does.
Do you have a driver's license?
No.
When did you last have a driver's license?
I never had a driver's license.
Why not?
Years ago, I had got pulled over, got some tickets, and stopped me from getting my license.
How much do you get from disability?
Total of $1,500.
You live in Cleveland?
Well, not now. I stay in Euclid.
With your family?
Well, just me and my kids.
What about her?
Separated.
You left him with the children?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
We separated because of financial difficulties and problems we were having in our marriage.
And you thought he could better take care of the children?
Well, actually, they're his children.
Oh, now it becomes clear to me. So you take care of your children, and we support them.
I have custody of 3. I receive SSI for 1, SSI for me, and welfare for the other 2.
Altogether, how much is that, Mr. Preston?
That's the $1,500.
I asked you before, how much is your disability payment?
About $420 of it is mine.
Which of your children has disability?
Osborne.
What's the nature of his disability?
ADHD.
Okay, now we set out the parameters of who these folks are. Let us get to the vandalism. What do we know about it? What happened to your house?
Can we start with the day they were evicted?
Yes.
There was no problem with the eviction. They were due to be evicted July 18th. So on the 18th, we drove by the house and the U-Haul truck was out there, so we knew they were moving.
Who moved on the 18th?
We did.
How many people?
The household of 6.
This one and younger children?
Older.
Well,
the
one
older.
older.
How old is the older
16.
child? Boy?
Girl.
Ozzy, and some other littler children.
Yes.
Yes.
Who moved out the dining room furniture?
Family friends helped us.
Who?
My brother, for one.
Yeah, my brother.
A friend of his.
And what were you doing?
Showing him what to move.
Yeah, right.
It's the truth.
Right. Go ahead.
The 19th, the neighbor in the front of that house, this is a duplex. The neighbor in the front says 2 keys were returned. So, well, when you buy property, you know you change the locks anyway.
So that's what you did.
One lock. We changed the front door lock. And then the next day, which would have been the 20th, we went back over to the house. We're going to start getting things cleaned out and things. And we noticed on the 3rd floor, there were 2 heaters up there, the 19th. The 20th, there was only 1 heater on the 3rd floor. So we knew someone had been in the house. So that's the 20th, we changed the back door lock because we only had 1 lock at the time. The next day, the nails were pried out and the door was opened with a key, evidently, because the lock wasn't broke. So they still got back in.
Well, somebody got back in.
Someone got back in. The biggest thing started the 25th. You want?
I'll tell about that. Charles called me and told me to come by. He wanted to know why I put this stuff in the basement, and didn't know anything about it, so I went over there and I looked in the basement, and there was a Foot Locker, CD players, DVDs, other types of electrical equipment.
So
Whose
the
was that?
PlayStation.
Yours? You don't know whose that was?
I mean, I know who it was.
That's what I want to know. I'm asking you a question. Don't shake your head when you both like this. Whose was it?
It was my friends.
Friends who?
The one that my friends that live on 116. I ain't in my pocket.
Your friend has a name. You know where he lives on 116th. What's his name?
Kenny.
You don't look over there.
I ain't look over here.
Kenny what?
I don't know his last name.
How did Kenny's stuff get in the basement of the house? Look at me. How did Kenny's stuff?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't know.
Well, Kenny doesn't live there. Kenny never
I know.
lived there. You ever tell Kenny that the house was now vacant? Don't play with your pants. I'm talking to you. You know, some things make sense and some things don't, Ozzy. You will find that I guarantee you I'm smarter than your father.
Son Ozzy trashed their rental property after they moved out.
Now, how did Kenny, or whatever his name is, wind up with stuff in the basement of your former house?
I don't know. Can I tell you what happened?
Sure.
We was playing around the neighborhood. I'm looking at you. And my friend stopped by my house that I used to live at, and he knocked on the door.
Your friend who?
My friend Kenny.
All right, so friend Kenny.
And I was like, "What you doing?" And then he was before I got to say that, Ms. O came out and said, "Get off the property." And then my friend was like, "Can he get his shirt out? Can he get his shirt out the house?" And then,
Out of what house?
You know, he was making. I guess he was making talking about so he could say that can he get his shirt out because he ain't had no shirt on. And then Mr. O came out like, "Get off my property, get off my property." And then we get to arguing, and then we left to go get his big brother, and we came back. And we asked him again, can he get our stuff out the house?
What stuff?
The shirt. And then I guess he came out with a gun with a towel over it and talking about get off my property, get off my property. That's when they called the cops, and then we left. And then a week later, my friends told me they got him and stuff.
What did they tell you that they did?
They told me that they trashed the house. I mean, we was cursing at them and stuff. I ain't gonna even count. We was calling them bees and all that. I ain't had nothing to do with it.
Why were you cursing at him?
Talking about he had a gun or the towel talking about.
What'd you go get the brother for?
Cause he trying to pop out talking about he was like, I was like, man, we gonna have to fight. He came out here trying to fight me and stuff.
Why
but
didn't
he
you just
hold him
leave?
back, huh?
Why didn't you just leave? You didn't belong there anymore.
I know, but my friends was right there. My friends, he talking about I'm going down with my friends. I'm sticking with my friends, cause that's what we do.
Miss Rose, I see that you have a cane.
I have a pinched nerve in my leg.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an independent contractor, sort of like I train office staff,
And your husband?
school teacher.
I teach phys ed.
How long have you had this pinched nerve?
About a year or two.
You don't get disability, do you?
No, not yet.
Just get to work every day.
Yeah.
Never had a hip replaced, did you?
Never. My mother did, though.
When she was how old?
60.
She didn't have a hip replaced when she was 30.
No, they wouldn't do it. I think you have to be a certain age.
Okay, I want to get to the vandalism now of the house. Vandalism, pictures. Let me
Pictures.
see it. And then I'd like to hear some concrete evidence, not just supposition about how Ozzy over here, who is hanging and going down with his friends, is responsible for the vandalism to the house. Because so far all I heard was stupid.
I think my husband can tell you that he answered the door when one of the children knocked on the door.
I understand. He was disrespecting him. I'm guessing.
This is what he said, but he said, you know, I will need to get my stuff out of the basement. We're like, what stuff? The house is clean. And when he said that,
I told him then, Your Honor, if you have things in the basement, you want to get them out, anything in this house now belongs to me. And if you want them, go get the police and come back, and I'll wait here for you.
So do they do that?
No, I waited for the police, though.
they ran when the police
When
came.
the police finally showed up a couple hours later, they had come back 2 or 3 times threatening,
What did they say they were going to do?
F me up
F your house up if we can't get our stuff.
if we can't get our stuff out. So I took Charles home after the police left. He lives across town. By the time I came back, I drove past the house. The door was open again, that I properly locked. I didn't want to go in and look because I had a feeling it was already done, and it was. We had a witness that saw someone from his family climbing through the window, and she told us on the tape when she called us back. She said, Mr. O's,
Can't tell me.
I'm
That's
sorry,
hearsay.
okay.
No, we have it on tape and a police report from her.
Well, let me just see the police report. It's still hearsay, but I'd like to take a look at it, not the tape.
The tape is just her voice. Okay. The other tape is the actual damage to the property.
I see the damage. Somebody
Okay.
did a lot of damage.
Almost looks like a D, doesn't it, on the paint?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'll put it in. I'd like to take a look at it, see if it's any different from the pictures. Go ahead.
Little boy, 13, 14, 15, I don't know, came over here, came back in, broke in through a window and put paint. Our brand new carpet 4 months old when they moved in. Oh, no, they didn't. God, look what these people here live next door to us. And this is their trunk. How did it get in our basement, you might ask? It seems that Davon Preston broke into their house and stole their stuff and broke into our house and stored it in here. This is the back window. It has no window, as you can see, clean. So that means they broke the window and came in. This is the one they threw the rock through. There's the rock. Well, this is the house now. It looks like it's an abandoned house. Yeah, we had to board up our house. That was the last thing we could do.
Was the stuff that had been in the basement taken out by the time you came back, Mr. Rose?
Yes, when I called the police and explained what had happened to them, he wanted to see it, so I took the police to the basement. They gathered up as much as they could because they did leave 1 or 2 items. And they gathered them up, put it in their car. I don't know where they went from there.
Now, was some of this stuff stolen property from another neighbor?
I'm assuming it was this neighbor I brought.
Is that right?
He carried his stuff out.
Step up. Your last name is?
McAdams?
Mr. McAdams, your house was burglarized?
Yes, Your Honor. And the trunk you saw in the video is belongings to me and my roommates.
You have a band?
Well, no, we own music instruments. So.
Did you ever get any back from the police?
We got about half of it back. From me, there was some guitars stolen. From my roommates, DVDs, video games. From my girlfriend, there was a cell phone and like several pairs of panties, which was creepy.
Now, Ozzy, the story you're telling me is your friend Kenny wanted to go into Mr. O's house to get a shirt.
I don't know
So
what...
it's a,
Yeah, I
that's
guess.
what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. But I ain't had nothing to do with it until I found out what happened and stuff. I ain't had nothing to do with it. And then I started arguing with them.
You started arguing with the O's. And were there when you...
I ain't started it, but he was pop fly with my friend, and I guess I
Your
jumped.
friend who had stored stolen property in his basement.
Guess, I ain't had
I
nothing to
guess
do with it.
I
ain't
know
put it in
nothing.
there.
You just were hanging out with your friends.
I didn't put it in there. Yeah, I was just hanging out with him because he ain't never do nothing bad around me.
Now, let's go back a second. So that after you left that day, Mr. Rose locked up the house when he wouldn't let you back into the basement with Kenny, right? To get Kenny's shirt, right?
Yeah.
I'm just asking you. So far, this is the story you're telling me.
That's the story I'm telling you.
What did you do?
I went home. First, I was at my friend's house, and that's when they came over there and told me, we got him or something, we got him. I'm like, what happened? What y'all do? What y'all do? And then it was like, they finally told me, it was like, we trashed this house. And
So who told you we trashed the house?
Kenny and them. I don't know
Kenny?
the rest of them. It was just Kenny and his boys. And then we don't get along no more, though, since that
Now,
happened.
did you tell that to the police?
I didn't talk to the police.
Well, when they came to discuss this whole incident with you, didn't you say, I know who caused the damage? It was my friend Kenny and his boys.
I wasn't going to snitch on them.
What?
I wasn't going to snitch on them.
Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm awarding the plaintiff the $3,000 that they're requesting. And maybe your father can convince you to do the right thing. Maybe he can, because I don't believe you. What do you want?
I'm trying to figure out, because we went to court about this before, if they had no proof, they did not see him break in, then how can they say that he did this?
They went to criminal court before?
No, we went to housing court,
Housing
eviction court.
Yes.
They are now in a civil court.
Okay.
And the civil court, the quantum of proof, how much proof is necessary, is just more proof than not. Not beyond a reasonable doubt, not even clear and convincing evidence. So your stepson is asking me to believe that his friend Kenny, whose last name he doesn't know, and Kenny's friends, whose names he doesn't know.
They were just some boys.
That's what he said. They were just some boys.
I ain't know.
Am I speaking now? Is my mouth moving?
Go ahead.
Names he doesn't know. Stored Kenny's shirt down in the basement of the house that you just happened to be evicted from. And when he just so happened to be with Kenny, going over to the house to get the shirt, Mr. O's was there, and they asked if they could go in to get the shirt. Mr. O's said no, and they started to curse at him. And then his friend Kenny went to get some more of his boys and his big brother, and they came back to again threaten Mr. O's. You don't let me get my shirt, not the stolen property that belonged to this young man, but my shirt. We're going to do this to you and that to your house and this to you. Ultimately, he came out with, according to you, a gun with a towel over it, threatened him, and they left. And he left. He comes back in an hour. The place is trashed, and all the stuff in the basement is gone. Now, was it the trash fairy who did it? Or Kenny and his friends? One makes sense, one doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's not true.
But still, no one...
Don't answer me back!
Okay.
It's the same kind of it doesn't make sense that you move